You know, if we were to sit down and really talk about the weight we carry, those moments of fear, those patterns we can't seem to break, that quiet voice of insecurity that whispers in the back of our minds, chances are we'd have to travel back in time, way back to our childhood. That's where the roots of so much of our adult life are buried. And to understand that, there's no better guide than a man named Carl Jung. Jung isn't just a name in a psychology textbook. He's a voice, a companion for anyone trying to understand the deep, often hidden, architecture of their own soul. He taught us that childhood isn't just a phase we pass through. It's the sacred ground where the very foundations of our unconscious mind are laid. The traumas we experience there, the moments we felt unseen, unheard, or unsafe, don't just vanish. They become emotional wounds, buried alive in the basement of our psyche. And from that dark place, they shape our behavior, our relationships, and our deepest struggles well into our adult lives. So, how do we heal these wounds? How do we go back into that basement, not with fear, but with a flashlight of compassionate understanding? That's the journey we're going on today. This isn't a quick fix. It's a story of transformation, a talk between you and the deepest parts of yourself, guided by Jung's timeless insights. Part 1. The courage to face the unconscious. Let's start with what Jung considered the most profound part of us, the unconscious. He saw it as this vast, deep ocean beneath the tiny island of our conscious awareness. And he insisted that the traumas we experience in our inner world, the emotions and thoughts we can't handle, get pushed down, sinking into this ocean. But here's the crucial part. Jung's unconscious isn't just a personal trash can for our bad memories. It's also a shared reservoir, what he called the collective unconscious. This is where we all tap into universal archetypes and symbols, the ancient wisdom of humanity itself. It's why stories from thousands of years ago still resonate with us today. However, the specific traumas from our childhood, those become very personal emotional wounds hidden in the depths of our own corner of this ocean. These wounds create a pressure. They don't just sit there quietly. They accumulate. They grow. If we don't confront them, they start to leak out, shaping our thoughts and actions in ways we don't even understand. These childhood wounds are often tied to primal feelings, fear, guilt, abandonment, a lack of love, or a profound insecurity. And because these feelings are too painful for a child to process, we suppress them. We push them down. Jung suggested that these suppressed emotions don't disappear. Instead, they become powerful, disruptive forces that knock us off our mental balance. So, the first, and perhaps most brave, step in healing is to turn and face that ocean. To look into the unconscious. This isn't about blaming our parents or wallowing in self-pity. It's about acknowledging what's there. It's about saying, I see that pain. I feel that fear. This confrontation is the essential starting point for any real, lasting change. Part 2. Meeting your shadow. Now, when we dare to look into the unconscious, one of the first things we meet is what Jung famously called the shadow. This is one of his most powerful concepts. The shadow is everything we've ever rejected, denied, or suppressed about ourselves. It's the parts of our personality we deemed unacceptable. Maybe our anger, our neediness, our selfishness, our wild creativity. We build this shadow because, as children, we learn what's good and what's bad. To be loved and accepted, we hide the bad stuff. But those aspects don't vanish. They just get relegated to the shadow. where they continue to live and exert a powerful influence over us. Jung was clear: if you don't face your shadow, you will forever be fighting internal conflicts and psychological problems. The traumas from our childhood almost always become part of this shadow. When a child experiences a trauma, like a lack of love or trust, they often suppress those feelings of hurt and betrayal rather than acknowledge them. Over the years, these suppressed emotions pile up in the shadow, creating a kind of psychological ghost that haunts us. This is why shadow work is such a vital step on the path to healing. It requires us to courageously confront those aspects of ourselves we've spent a lifetime running from. But here's the beautiful, hopeful twist that Jung offered. The shadow isn't just a dumpster for our worst traits. It also holds our hidden potential, our repressed talents, and our untapped power. It contains both negative and positive energy. So, while facing the shadow means acknowledging the negative emotions and thoughts hidden there, it also gives us an incredible opportunity to reclaim lost parts of ourselves. We might discover a strength we had to hide, a creativity we were shamed for, or a passion we thought was inappropriate. Childhood is when this process of suppression is most acute. By doing shadow work, we aren't just confronting past trauma, we are opening the door to our future potential. Jung described this process as a kind of personal alchemy. It's about transforming the lead of our repressed pain into the gold of self-awareness and wholeness. By confronting the shadow, we can make peace with our inner conflicts, transform negative emotions like anger and fear, and replace them with healthier thoughts and behaviors. This work frees us not only from our traumas, but also from the endless internal civil war, allowing us to spiritually mature. Accepting our shadow is the key to true freedom and genuine self-knowledge. Part 3. The Path of Self-Knowledge and Awareness. This brings us to the heart of the matter: self-knowledge and self-awareness. In Jung's psychology, these aren't just fancy terms. They are the very pillars of spiritual development. Self-knowledge is about more than just understanding the external world. It's about being at peace with your inner world. It's the foundational step toward becoming conscious of both your conscious and unconscious mind, resolving your inner conflicts, and unlocking your personal potential. Childhood is where the blueprint for our psychological development is drawn. The traumas we experience can leave emotional scars etched into our unconscious, making it harder to truly know ourselves. Developing self-awareness is how we confront and heal these wounds. It helps us understand ourselves on a much deeper level and overcome the fallout of a painful past. But this isn't a superficial process. It's not just about observing your surface-level thoughts and feelings. To truly know yourself, you have to be willing to dive into the murky waters of your subconscious, to face the emotions, memories, and thoughts that are buried, forgotten, or suppressed over time. Self-awareness is about developing a deep, intimate understanding of your inner workings. It's about seeing the patterns that drive you and learning to manage them in a healthy way. Jung believed that self-awareness becomes possible when a person understands their emotions, thoughts, behaviors, and the connections between them. The problem is, childhood trauma can severely disrupt this natural development. Suppressed emotions and conscious wounds and unresolved conflicts from childhood can lead to a lack of self-awareness in adulthood. This lack of awareness prevents us from resolving our inner turmoil and building a healthy sense of self. Healing, therefore, requires us to turn toward these traces from the past and understand them. Through self-awareness, we can heal childhood wounds, overcome past trauma, and construct a healthier I. This awareness allows us to recognize our own essence and potential, freeing ourselves from emotional baggage. This also means acknowledging the consequences of our emotional wounds and making peace with them. Jung was adamant: if you don't acknowledge the pain and trauma of your past, healing is impossible. You have to recognize not just the emotional scars, but the cracks in your psychological foundation. True self-knowledge happens when you can accept both your strengths and your weaknesses. You can't be free from the psychological consequences of past trauma until you face them head-on. This process of acknowledging, understanding, and accepting your wounds leads to both inner healing and spiritual maturity. The person who knows themselves not only makes peace with their past wounds, but also unlocks their future potential. They become a more whole, balanced, and healthy individual. Part 4. Working with Archetypes, the Universal Guides Within. Now, let's talk about one of Jung's most fascinating ideas, archetypes. Think of archetypes as universal blueprints, primordial symbols that exist in the collective unconscious of all humanity. They are fundamental patterns that shape our basic experiences and emotional themes. They come not just from our personal experience, but from the entire history of human culture and mythology. Childhood is when these archetypes first begin to form and take shape in our unconscious. But trauma during this period can warp, suppress, or distort these powerful inner guides. So, working with archetypes can be a profound way to heal. What does this mean? It means consciously engaging with these universal symbols within your own subconscious. Jung said archetypes often appear through mythological figures or symbols. For example, the mother archetype is hugely significant. It's associated with nurturing, safety, care, and protection. But if a person didn't receive love and protection from their mother in childhood, this archetype can become distorted or negative. By working with the mother archetype, a person can begin to heal the deficits and traumas of their childhood. Another key archetype is the hero. This represents our inner strength and our ability to overcome obstacles. If someone grew up in an environment where they couldn't develop coping skills, this archetype might remain weak. By consciously working with the hero archetype, a person can reclaim their inner strength and develop a more resilient approach to life. And of course, there's the archetype of the shadow, which we've already met. Working with this archetype is about bringing those negative, suppressed emotions and desires to the surface to accept and transform them. Jung believed you cannot spiritually mature without recognizing and making peace with your shadow. The path to healing childhood trauma often involves understanding these archetypes. Jung believed that each of us is influenced by certain archetypes, and they shape the very structure of our personality and our life's path. To work with them, we need to establish a deep connection. This can be done through meditation, visualization, dream analysis, or creative writing. These methods help us dialogue with our subconscious in a healthy way. Working with archetypes is a process of inner transformation. It allows you to confront past childhood trauma, transform those wounds, and accept yourself more wholly. Archetypes provide the symbols and models that guide us through this transformation. Each archetype reflects a deep inner reality, and understanding them is a critical step on the path to emotional healing. It's a tool not just for healing the past, but for unlocking the vast potential of your personality. Part 5. Imagination and Art Therapy, the soul's native language. For Jung, imagination and art weren't just hobbies. They were powerful, essential tools for healing deep wounds in the unconscious, confronting inner conflicts, and achieving emotional balance. He believed that unlocking your creative potential, especially through artistic expression and imagination, was a vital method for healing. Why? Because the process of healing childhood trauma requires more than just rational thinking and talking. It needs to speak the language of the soul, symbols and emotions. Art and imagination act as a bridge to heal psychological wounds and foster emotional growth. Think of imagination as a power that goes beyond your conscious thoughts. It taps into the symbolic images and emotional experiences buried in your subconscious. Childhood trauma is often stored not as a linear story, but as a feeling, an image, a sensation. Imagination is the key that unlocks this nonverbal vault. Jung saw imagination as the creative force of the inner world and one of the most effective ways to communicate with the unconscious. It allows you to go beyond the limits of your conscious mind and connect with subconscious symbols, archetypes, and emotional meanings. This process offers a profound opportunity to make sense of and transform the trauma you experienced as a child. Art therapy is the practical application of this imagination. It's not about creating a masterpiece for a gallery. It's about using creative expression, like painting, sculpting, music, writing, or dance, as a therapeutic tool to convey the deep feelings of your inner world. Through art therapy, wounds, traumas, and suppressed memories that are hidden in your emotional world can surface. When complex experiences, especially from childhood, can't find emotional expression, they leave scars on your psychological structure. In the process of art therapy, you don't just confront past trauma, you get to transform it and create a new internal balance. Imagination is the creative force that shapes the art, and art is the vessel that carries the healing. Jung believed that we heal not only through logic, but through symbols. Imagination allows us to transform the pain of the past using symbolic language. Art helps a person achieve a deeper connection with their self. Healing childhood trauma is not just about understanding and fixing the wounds. It's a process of creative rebirth. Art is the process that allows you to confront your past, reshape it, and at the same time, discover your future potential. Art therapy and imagination don't just free you from the traces of the past. They allow you to be spiritually reborn and find your personal power. In Jung's view, they are keys to self-knowledge and inner healing. Part 6. Your personal mythology, the story you are living. Finally, we come to what is perhaps the most beautiful of Jung's concepts, personal mythology. Jung believed that we are not just biological and social beings, we are meaning-making creatures on a spiritual journey. The myths, legends, and heroic stories from human history are reflections of this inner journey. He argued that we all form our lives in a similar way. Each of us lives by a kind of personal mythology, a narrative, often unconscious, that carries deep meaning and guides our inner path. This personal mythology is shaped by childhood events, inner conflicts, and those universal archetypes we talked about. Understanding your personal mythology is a crucial stage in healing childhood trauma and achieving individuation, becoming your whole, unique self. Your mythology expresses itself through themes, symbols, and images that repeat throughout your life. It's connected to the archetypes in your unconscious and symbolically reflects certain stages of your life path. Childhood is when the foundations of your personal mythology are laid. The events, traumas, and key figures of your early years, your mother, father, a teacher, a mentor, become the heroes, guides, or even antagonists in your inner story. Over time, we transform the events of our early life into a kind of mythological narrative. In your personal mythology, you are the hero. And the obstacles and difficulties this hero faces are a reflection of your own psychological and spiritual development. By exploring this mythology, you can transform old traumas, accept losses, and begin a journey of rebirth. The hero's journey in your personal mythology is crucial for your spiritual development. It reflects the crises you experience and your search for solutions. This process doesn't just help you shed the burden of the past, it gives you hope and inner strength for the future. Your personal mythology is written in the symbolic language of dreams, symbols, and artistic expression. By analyzing this mythology, you get vital clues about your inner structure. These clues help you heal emotional wounds, find meaning, and achieve inner balance. Exploring your personal mythology shows you how you handle identity crises, social roles, and your personal search for meaning. It is a guide not only for healing past traumas and fears, but also for realizing your potential, finding your inner strength, and understanding yourself on a deeper level. By investigating your personal mythology, you can make peace with your past, find your inner hero, and create a more whole, integrated personality. It is the story of you, and by understanding it, you can rewrite its ending. So, that's our journey. From facing the unconscious to meeting our shadow, from cultivating self-awareness to working with archetypes, and finally, expressing our pain through art and understanding the epic story of our own lives. Healing the wounds of childhood is perhaps the most courageous and rewarding journey we can ever undertake. It's the path to becoming truly, wholly, who we are meant to be. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. If this resonated with you, and you'd like to continue this conversation about healing, self-discovery, and Jungian psychology, please subscribe to the channel for more content.